Hey, fourth graders, it's me again, Mrs. Ramsey. I'm here to read us some more of the Someday Birds. Yesterday, we left off with a pretty big cliffhanger with Charlie and Davis and Jonathan and the twins all getting in an accident on their way on their journey to Virginia. And Jonathan has been put on a stretcher because he's hurt himself pretty badly and he's headed to the in an ambulance to the hospital. Charlie, luckily, remembered the phone number of his grandmother, the emergency number to give to the policeman. So that is where we left off. And we are actually going to read 10, 11, and 12 today because chapter 10 is only like 2 pages. So here we go. Chapter 10, the quote at the top of this chapter says, "No one would guess, looking at this unassuming little shorebird, the astounding long distances he's willing to travel." Tiberius Shah PhD. Jonathan Dylan Daniels' family doesn't have insurance, so he wouldn't let the EMTs bring him to a fancy, expensive Vegas hospital. We went to a free clinic almost out of town, far away from the strip. In the crowded urgent care, I can hear people arguing in Spanish, medical equipment clanging and beeping, a vacuum cleaner, phones. It smells like toilet cleanser and machine oil. Jonathan Dylan Daniels is pretty much all right, except for a new, bright blue cast up to his elbow and a black eye. His face is all twisted looking, which is either because he's in pain or because Davis and he are having a huge fight, or both. I tug at my sister's shirt, but she pays no attention. I want to tell her that the twins got sick of waiting around in this place and they've completely disappeared, and I'm worried. The police left us here in the care of this lady who is a registered social worker. She filled out a bunch of forms and made a bunch of phone calls, and when she told us we're supposed to stay right with her until an adult comes for us, we're supposed to stick tight and wait for our own ride. But about an hour after she said that, the social worker lady got an emergency phone call that sounded way worse than our emergency. Now she's nowhere to be found. And the twins are gone. And Davis doesn't seem to care. She's only interested in yelling. "We should have left your stupid brothers behind," Jonathan Dylan Daniels says. "Like it's their fault that you hit a truck?" Davis shouts. She has something called a butterfly bandage on a little cut on her temple. It's not as pretty as it sounds. They hurt my ears, so I leave them to go look for Joel and Jake. The sidewalk outside the clinic is filthy. There's cigarette stubs and dented cans and dirty, soggy old plastic bags. It's quiet, though. Despite everything that's happened to us so far, it's still pretty early in the morning. We've only been gone from home about 7 or 8 hours, which is almost impossible to believe. Where are my brothers? "Joel! Jake!" I call down the street. Nothing. My stomach feels strangely tight. Where did my brothers go? Chapter 11. The quote is, "If I study bird behavior, I'm hoping I will eventually increase my understanding of human behavior as well." Tiberius Shah, PhD. I wander down the street, calling and calling for Joel and Jake. A few doors away, I see a shabby junk shop with a dirty front window. Above the door is a big, old-fashioned sign with 2 black crows painted on it, along with the words, "Toi courbes curiosities." My brothers love junk. Maybe they went in here. Toi courbes means 2 rows. It's from an old Scottish poem. I learned this because Dad's an English teacher, and learning boring poetry trivia is what Dad calls an occupational hazard of having to be his kids. I don't mind, really. In the poem, 2 black crows plan on how they're going to eat the body of some dead guy in a ditch. Pretty creepy stuff. Most people think corvids, such as crows and ravens, are scary death symbols. But what they don't realize is how smart and cool corvids actually are. For example, they have incredibly long memories. If you hurt a crow, it will remember your face or the shirt you were wearing at the time and avoid you every time it sees you again. Every single time. Forever. I like this fact a lot because I, too, have an incredibly long memory. Also, I read about this crow incident that happened in Ontario, Canada. Hundreds of thousands of crows would migrate through this one small town, and they'd cause such an awful ruckus that one year the townsfolk decided to have a crow hunting day to try to shoot them and get rid of them. Well, one hunter shot one crow. One crow! And guess what happened then? Every other crow flew off. And get this, they stayed away forever. Talk about getting the message. Those hundreds of thousands of crows somehow got the word out to each other never to fly over that particular unfriendly town ever again, because one single crow got hurt. I wish flocks of people would look out for each other like that. Also, there's this girl in England who has been feeding the crows around her house every day for years. They are grateful for the food, so they leave her gifts. They bring shiny little bits of broken glass and beads and stuff, as if to say thank you. She has boxes full of crow gifts. Seriously, crows. So, the Trois Corbies, curiosities, junk, my brothers. I open that shabby, creaking shop door and go in. Joel? I whisper. Jake? Nothing. It's totally silent in here. Behind a tall wooden desk, no sign of anyone. There aren't even aisles in this junk shop. It's crammed to overflowing with boxes and books, crates of old dishes, glass cases of jewelry, rickety chairs. A mangy old stuffed raccoon sits on a shelf, his marble eyes dead and dusty. For some reason I don't like, that makes me think about Dad. In the back room, a giant stuffed raven with sleek black wings sits on a top shelf. I get the feeling that wherever I turn, he's looking at me. Below him is a wall of old dusty books. Each shelf has a category: bibliographies, Nevada history, the Wild West, philosophy. Another wooden crate of dusty old books sits on the floor. On top of a random pile in the crate, something catches my eye. It's a faded green book with a gold feather painted on the cover. I've seen that particular gold feather before. On the old yellow card by the birds on the shelf in the hospital gift shop. That gold feather looks like the logo of legendary ornithologist, artist, and philosopher Tiberius Shah PhD. I pick up the book and crack open its dusty spine. On the first page is an old, faded pencil sketch of a mallard duck. Mallards are the most common duck in America, you know. People ooh and ah when they see their shiny green heads, but they are really no big deal. Sometimes the most exotic looking things are common underneath, and the most boring looking things turn out to be rare. An old bookmark is stuck in the pages. It shows the same photo as back in Ellie's hospital gift shop. Brown leathery skin and white tufted eyebrow wings. Underneath the photo it says, one of this nation's foremost authorities on ornithology and human nature, birds, and mysticism, the reclusive Dr. Tiberius Shah, PhD, lives, writes, sculpts, and paints from his abode within the world-famous sanctuary marsh in the state of Virginia. I turn to the first page in the journal and get a shiver. In neat handwriting that's not too different from my own human typewriter lettering in old blue ink are words that, could it be? Yes, it could. Words that must be, have to be, from the very hand and pen of Dr. Tiberius Shah PhD himself. December 26, 1969. If I study bird behavior, I'm hoping I will eventually increase my understanding of human behavior as well. My heart leaps. I hug the book tightly and jump up and down. I feel shock pangs leaping through my veins, but in a good way. What a find! I can't believe it. I know my mission right now is to find my brothers, but I have to take a minute out to buy this book. I run to the wooden counter, clutching the green journal. A dusty old shopkeeper dodders out of the darkness of the back room. He looks like a wax figure, bald with wisps of white hair. I hand over my treasure and he turns it around in his skeletal hands, peering at it, frowning. I feel breathless while it's out of my grasp. I need that book back, now. He holds it out at arm's length, peering. He gets out a pair of rimless glasses. The suspense is killing me. His mouth hangs open with an effort of trying to find a price. I can almost see my heart knocking against my t-shirt. I whisper a prayer that it costs less than $1. I only have the money that's in my pocket. I left my backpack with Davis in the clinic. He says, "Well, this is an interesting, odd volume." I swallow and nod. The shopkeeper peers at me, opens the book up to the middle somewhere, reads something to himself, murmuring. I can see yellow snaggle teeth in his wrinkly, lipless mouth. Then he suddenly snaps the book shut. "That'll be $1. I gasp and hand over all my change, weak with relief. When he hands me the book and I'm able to hug it to my chest again, it's like it helps free up my words. "Please, sir," I say, "did you maybe notice some 10-year-old twin boys around here?" His mouth is a squirmy line. "I happen to, yes. I kicked them out for knocking over a display about 10 minutes ago." He drops my coins, one by one, into an ancient cash register. "You just missed them." I leave, clutching the journal. Tiberius Shah actually wrote the words inside this book. Just like I have my bird book. Tiberius Shah, when he was young, had this green journal with the gold feather that he himself probably painted on the front. This very one. His private book. How could they sell this thing? Where do they get it? Well, I can hardly believe it. I know I still have to find my brothers, but I can't help stopping to sit on the bench outside the shop to just flip quickly through a few pages. My heart's home in Sanctuary Marsh is precisely 2 miles north of the old visitor center, beyond water inlets that stretch finger-like into the sanctuary. It's on a knoll, a small hill covered in old-growth pine, oak, and maple, and from that vantage point, I look out over the purity of nature. You'd never know you were so near the corruptions of the capital, mere miles away. First, I found Shaw's statuses at the gift shop. Then, Dad got moved to a hospital that's super close to Shaw's sanctuary. Now, I am holding Shaw's old journal, his personal journal. I can't believe in all these coincidences. If I didn't know better, I'd say that it's almost like Shaw's been trying to reach out to me or something. But of course, that's just crazy weird. I flip a few more pages and notice a little pencil sketch of a shorebird. It's very similar to a sketch I did once of a sandpiper. But this bird's bigger, with a longer beak. It's a beautiful sketch, better than I can do. And underneath, in his careful lettering, it says, "This little bar-tailed godwit, without breaking food without breaking for food or drink, will fly 7,000 miles in 9 days, from Alaska to New Zealand, as if it's nothing. What stunt of bird bravery is this? His tremendous urge to join family and flock is stronger than any wind or current. It is stronger than anything. And so we should ask ourselves, what can the Godwit teach us about our own connection to home? Chapter 12. I finally found them. It took me 10 more minutes of frantic shouting down every single side street to locate Joel and Jake, but I did it. Then we all went to find our social worker lady in the clinic, but she was still gone on her big emergency. The nurse in charge didn't even care. She just told us to take that mangy beast outside. More on the mangy beast in a minute. So, now, we're all of us piled on a bench outside the clinic waiting. Davis has just broken up with Jonathan Dylan Daniels, so she's either sobbing into her hands or staring into space. She seems too upset right now to keep us safe or deal with hard reality at all. She just stares and cries. And about that mangy beast. Apparently, while I was in the Trois Corbis and Davis was breaking up with Jonathan Dylan Daniels, the twins found a little black and white pup tied to a rope in someone's weedy, overgrown lot. There was a sign written on a piece of scrap cardboard in the thick black marker, "Free to a good owner." It looked like both the sign and the dog had been there a long time. There was a metal bowl with an inch of warm water and ants swimming in it. A scruffy old guy came out of the house. He told the boys how it had been his nephew's dog, and they could just untie and take him, if it was okay with their mama. The twins said it was sure definitely was. The old guy gave them a bag of stale kibble and the leash and the metal bowl. Joel and Jake washed the ants out with a hose and gave the dog fresh water right then and there. "You should have seen him. He drank and drank and drank," Jake said. The dog is white with cow patches of wiry black and brown fur. He's got a snub nose and warm brown eyes. He seems glad to be with us. His tail is wagging like mad as he leans against the twins' knees. Also, he may be leaning against them for support because he only has 3 legs. The back left one is missing from clear up by the hip bone. Whatever caused it must have happened long ago. It's all healed up. Or maybe he was born that way. He doesn't seem to mind having 3 legs anyway. He seems totally used to it, like it's no problem whatsoever. The dog twitches an ear, then bares his teeth at me in this weird grimace while wagging his tail. He wags so hard he throws himself off balance and almost falls over. "That's a smile," shouts Jake. "He's smiling at Charlie." "No accounting for taste," says Joel. We have all wanted a puppy for years, but especially Joel and Jake. They spend hours watching dog videos all the time. Joel likes big dogs. Jake likes small dogs. They love to argue about what kind of dog they'd get if they could get one. It's one of their favorite twin conversations. They have some dog care experience too. The Blanco family down the street started asking them to dog sit their 2 black poodles, Punch and Judy, this year. The Blancos skipped right over asking me to dog sit. They went right from asking Davis to asking the twins. I don't know why they thought I couldn't take care of Punch and Judy. I would have done a great job. I love dogs, too. I would have been a very careful dog sitter. "Hey, Davis," the twins say. "He's smiling at you now." "Uh-huh," Davis mumbles, stares off into the distance. Her eyes have black mask smears of mascara around them. I remember early this morning at the gas station when she had heard when she had had that sparkly lip gloss smile. Nothing is very glossy about Davis anymore. The dog shows his tiny little teeth and lolling pink tongue, waiting for Davis to get happy. Wag, wag, wag. But Davis keeps staring at nothing. The dog can be in the car with us. No problem, right? Says Joel. God, it smells, says Davis, waving her hand back and forth. It's not an it, says Jake. It's a him. Well, what are we going to name him? How about Doctor Who, says Joel. That's stupid, says Jake. You're stupid, says Joel. Shut up, says Jake, tightening his grip on the leash. Davis slumps over the bench and puts her head back in her hands for some more quiet sobbing. I don't say anything. I just hold on to Shaw's green journal, tracing the gold feather on the cover with my finger over and over and over. A long time goes by before finally, down the road at the far traffic light, we see a small gray car appear. It looms up and lurches to a stop right in front of us. The door flings open and a red-eyed, messy-haired Ludmilla stumbles out. Well, so here are the runaways. She puts her hands on her hips and looks at Davis. Very smart, young lady. You take your brothers for your little trip? Davis just turns her head away. Joel speaks up. We were going to see Dad. John said he'd take us, he says in a higher, whinier voice than usual. Joel is sitting on the pile of our backpacks, the dirty three-legged dog snuggled in his lap. Davis and John. They said they'd take us on an adventure to be with Dad, that everything would be fine. But then, well then, Ludmilla stares at the dog like she's not sure what it is. I know what happened after that. You all okay? You? She points at each of us in turn, and we nod to answer her one by one. Okay, then, Ludmilla says. You're safe and ready for your grandmother to kill you. There's total silence. The dog whines, but Ludmilla ignores it. She grabs her phone out of her jeans pocket and jabs a number in with her finger. Then she thrusts the phone out to Davis. We can hear Granny's tiny, faraway voice already shouting through it. She sounds like an angry bee, buzzing and fussing. Davis fits in quicks, uh-huhs, yeses, and sorry, Grams. The whole time, tears are sliding out of her eyes. Meanwhile, Ludmilla goes back around to her little car and opens her trunk. She crams as many of our bags in there as she can fit. How long will it take us to get home? I ask. I can't wait to be in my safe, clean room again, to fall asleep for a long, long time and forget about all of this. Ludmilla turns, a backpack in each hand. We're not going home, Charlie, she says, and juts her chin toward Davis, crying on the phone to Graham. Then we're going to stay? I say. Panic starting to squeeze in my throat. Ludmilla doesn't answer. Davis has come to hand back her phone. I'm sorry, okay? Davis hiccups, staring at the sidewalk. I'm supposed to say I'm sorry for the trouble, and that we'll be good, and thanks for taking us. She sniffs after every other word. Wait, taking us where, I ask. My stomach is suddenly cold with doubt. I'm shaking my hands. I realize I'm jumping up and down and up and down. To Virginia, Ludmilla points to some huge duffel bags strapped to the little gray car's roof. See? Supplies. More clothes, camping gear. Your grandmother, such a nice lady, good person. She helped me. To help, so I help. I bring you all to her, even though I am not, what you say, a kid's person. Wait, this is wrong. I've been waiting all this time to go home, to my safe, clean room where I can finally breathe. This can't be happening. This can't be the plan. My stomach goes into the washing machine mode. In a few more days, you will be there with your dad to face whatever comes next, good or bad, like a family together. Ludmilla's eyes look like they're trying to lock a tractor beam onto my eyes from behind her smudgy glasses. But I break that tractor beam. I burst out, "No! I want to go home. I need to go home." Davis and the twins stare at me. The dog whines. But Ludmilla just opens the side door of the little gray car. "Sorry, kid. It's all decided. No more protests. No more crying. Just driving. Everyone in. It's a long trip and I want to get us somewhere special by midnight." Do we have to take that dog? Really? And like it or not, off we go. And that's where we'll end today. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.